Hey guys, it's Greg here, and in this video I want to talk about what I will refer to for the sake of simplicity as good energy versus bad energy, or what you might call light energy versus dark energy, or perhaps even low vibrational frequency energy versus high vibrational frequency energy. I want to talk about what the difference is, where they both come from, and what that actually means to us in our everyday lives. So to start with, what is good, light, high vibrational energy? Well, it comes from a place of love in the heart space, what we would call the heart chakra, emanates from there. And if you've ever meditated and if you're in a state of meditation, you may feel that feeling of like a love emanating for all beings, and it's a link to the divine, it's a link to the all that is, the original source, God, whatever you want to call it, first cause, basically what is beyond us, but we are all a tiny little part of, and that is where the good vibrational energy comes from. Excuse me. But we also have lower vibrational frequencies in this earth realm that we inhabit, and they can come to us in all sorts of guises. Sometimes feelings of anxiety let us know that there is a lower vibrational presence, or that we're experiencing lower or darker energy. Sometimes particular people give off a lower vibrational vibe, and we pick up on their frequency, especially like more highly attuned people, sensitive to that, would pick up on someone's vibrational frequency and where they're coming from. Um, and the danger of it is that if you are quite susceptible to energy transference, you could potentially be in a very good place on a very even keel yourself, but then be pulled lower by someone who is vibrating with what you might call the negative, lower vibrational frequency. They're just not on that level, or even sort of somewhere in the middle, they're down here. You might be vibrating up here, not like all the way up the top where, like, I mean, the sky's the limit, really. But you might be somewhere up here and they are like way down here. And if you aren't, what's the word? If you aren't equipped to deal with a different level of energy that could potentially pull you down, and you're not kind of steadfast and able to hold your center and presence and where you're at, no matter what comes at you, you haven't sort of hardened that. Well, I don't know if hardened's the right word, but you haven't kind of strengthened that core to the point where it can't be attacked by any negative things that might come at it. And that's where the danger lies in our society, because they're around us, there can be an awful lot of negative, lower vibrational energy. Um, and so where it really comes into play is it's kind of, it interests me because it's the idea that we need to keep ourselves like present and level. Like if we're going along our day to day, there'll be a level that is sort of your, it's kind of like your, say it was like a volume knob, your volume knob is turned up to a standard level at any particular time, and some people frequency is like way turned up, some people is like quite quiet, not really, and some are just in the middle. But if you are going about your daily life and you're on that sort of middle level and you're like that even keel, and then certain energies, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a person, it could be a situation, it could be something in the atmosphere you inhabit, even beyond like on an invisible level. And a lot of this comes from an invisible level, we just only see its emergence in the physical because that's where we operate, most of us. So this is why it's a subject that interests me, because I've had my own ups and downs in my own life, and sometimes it's useful to know when you're coming into contact with an energy that might bring you off center, and to be able to prepare yourself for that. And I probably haven't been the best at doing this, in at least in recent years. I went through a period where I was meditating a lot and I was really centered and calm and like on my path with it, and on a good level and sort of in the center. But in more recent times, I mean, I'd say I'm coming away from this now, but I was letting lower negative energies affect me quite a lot, and that's why I'm kind of doing this video now, because it's something I've experienced recently, so I have like relatively recent experience of it. But what I would say to people who are concerned about being affected by negative energies in their vibrational field around them is you need to come up with some kind of preparedness for when these things are going to hit you. Um, you might be the happiest, most jovial, open, loving person in the world, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're equipped to deal with someone who may be on a more kind of, I don't know how can we put it, sort of cynical, dark, melancholy, maybe even manipulative power game kind of trip, like might be on that kind of vibe. And if you come into contact with that, even as a sort of like, I'm spiritually, aware and free and peaceful and all that, it takes a lot to stay there when you're encountering that. And it's about finding a center within ourselves, and meditation can do a lot of this for you. um, just the practice of it, breathing exercises, like centering your focus, especially like, I don't know if thought control is the right word, but letting a thought be and letting it go, like you do in meditation. Like your like thought will come up, and you notice the thought arise, you notice the feelings arise, but you don't attach. This is the thing, it's this detached thing where you can see, you can experience what's going on in your mind, but you don't identify with it, because the moment you identify with it is when you put yourself back in that ego place, and you're more easily attacked because you attach yourself to something that can be harmed. Whereas when you lift yourself out of that, or ascend that, and identify yourself as the all it is, as the container of all life, and the little person having an experience inside that container, you are like connected with it in some way. It's difficult to explain, but basically if you can come at life more like that, then you're less likely to feel the slings and arrows that come at you from the little ego of other people. um and I wanted to do just a little video, because I haven't done one in a bit, where I talk, and I hope the camera isn't wobbling too much here. I'm trying this new little setup we got going on, but I just kind of wanted to impart like something about it, because it's like, what I would like is for everyone to have the knowledge and preparedness to be able to deal with those situations whenever they arise. And no, I'm not promoting a course or anything. I don't have a book or anything about this kind of stuff. It's just a subject that interests me, so I wanted to talk about it. But just the idea that you can walk through this world oblivious on an energetic level to what's going on, and that can actually be really like I don't know if this is a word, but trepidatious way to walk through life. Like, you're surrounded by trepidation because you don't know that you can be affected by these energies, and then all of a sudden you're caught up in them. Like, for an example, when we drink alcohol, that really affects your energy field, and things can seem more of a threat when they're not, and you can just kind of lose it, and just all of a sudden you're in the thrall of this low vibrational frequency that you weren't in, because of the adding of alcohol, and then the re-perception of a situation from that drunken state. And it's the same with drugs or anything like that. I'm not saying that you can't have good experiences with those things. I'm just saying that a lot of low vibrational frequencies happen with those kind of substances. But so my advice would be, one, learn about meditation, because it is good for you and it can help you stay centered. Read as much that should be read as much useful self-help stuff as you can find. And there is a lot of it out there. Some of it's great, some of it's not so great, but it always helps to be improving your mind and your knowledge of yourself and how you operate really in this world. And So I wanted to come at this, and I wanted to have some kind of like solution to give people, but I don't have an ultimate solution. I think it's more about just being aware, like just being more aware of what's going on at an energetic level. It's like there's what's the term? There's a term, the energy vampire or psychic vampire, which is basically a person who feeds on another's energy, almost like for their sustenance. But it happens at a very subtle level. Like, say, you may be on a phone call with such a person, and they're like, they've basically called you to tell you about all about their situation, all about their situation. Listen, oh yeah, 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 and then you chime in with something about your situation, and it's like they've switched off for a minute because they're waiting to give you more and more and more of their situation, sort of, and that's someone who is basically taking from you. So it sounds like they're a giver because they're giving you information, but what they're really doing is just venting, and using you as like a something to just drain all that venting out on, so that they can just feel better. But then you're holding all their baggage, and also that, and they've basically drained you of your energy with that, and that's an energy vampire. That's a psychic vampire. A lot of people don't realize they are that, or they're on the other side of it and don't realize they're experiencing that. They just see that person as whoever that person is, but that's what's going on beneath the surface. And that's just one example of energy transference. It can happen all sorts of ways. So, they say to, as a general rule, avoid energy vampires or anyone that, if you feel like your energy has been sapped after you've been around a person, that tends to be a good sort of like uh, example of the kind of person that you should avoid. Like they say that in these sort of things that I read. But I mean, that's one example. I mean, there's the idea of outside force of a energetic state and self-imposed energy states as well. You may have been manipulated into a situation by someone and you didn't realize you were being manipulated, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation that you're not happy in, and it's a very low negative vibrational state, but you were led there, and it's up to you to lead yourself out of there, and sometimes that does involve extricating yourself from a situation. um, or you could be in a situation that you may not even realize that you've been self-imposed your own will upon your life, because at the end of the day you are the person who writes the script of your life, and you may be unhappy with where you're at in your life now, and the situation you're in, you may be very happy with it, but you may not be. And if you're not, one thing that can help is to remember that we are actually authoring, in a way, our own life as we go. So if we want to change it, it really is up to ourselves, and we have to just have to think. I know that's simple, much easier said than done. I completely sympathise with that, but and I myself, go through this sometimes. I think, like, oh, this that could be different, this that could be different, but at the end of the day, I've got me to where I am. So I'm gonna have to think about where I need to go different if I want to change things. So, but that's the same for each individual. Like, you do have the power to change it. Um, Going back to the energy vampire thing, the other thing that people can do to sap your energy is, like, sort of playing the victim, like making you the bad guy, making you the perpetrator, and they're the victim, and they're draining you because, that's never normally. It's not normally always one-sided when there's two people. There's normally a bit of give and take, but some people are like really play that victim role, and it's true that if you claim your victimhood and hold it out there for people. If you fight for your victimhood, you own it. Basically, you are a victim because you've chosen to let everyone know that, and you're like, no, God damn it, I am a victim, and that's, if that's what you want to do, but that type of mentality does not help the person feeling like that or anyone involved with them. So I'd say, like, it's best to try and avoid the whole victim thing and seeing yourself that way. If you see yourself as empowered, you're more likely to be able to empower yourself to ascend a situation that you don't like. If you choose to see yourself as a victim, and no, I am a victim of this is how it is, and I am this downtrodden person, then you'll probably stay there because you're just writing your own script, as we say. So those are just a couple of points I want to make. I'm going to have a quick little look at my little notes thing here, if it'll let me. Sorry, I'm just going on another phone to see it. I talked about a lot. Yeah, playing victim, Guilt trips is another one. People that guilt trip you, but again, that can be linked to the victim thing. You know, guilt trip like, oh, you don't do this or you do this, and it's not fair, and blah blah blah. And then you'll try and have your piece, and it's like, well, no, because this, and but that's another ego trip. That's another thing that you can fall down the spiral of with someone, you know. And you know, people that are good at manipulating people are very good at this. That they, you know, can lure you into these sort of, you know, like victimhood traps or guilt trip traps, and you just have to see where the traps are. And if you're centered enough and aware enough, and a great book that I've been listening to on Audible recently is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It's a great book. I recommend it. Um, and he basically breaks down all of the different, what he would refer to as laws of power, and talks about them in historical context through people that have uh, lived by that law and thrived, or gone against it at their peril. And it's things like that. It's just, a lot of it's just about knowledge. A lot of it is just about increasing your knowledge. I mean, I always commend people who are avid readers, especially of non-fiction. I mean, fiction's great as well, you know, especially classical fiction, and you know, because it's great to have knowledge of what's come before. But yeah, people that just read and want, like, I'm one of those people that just wants knowledge. Like, I want all the knowledge now. Like, and it's hard sometimes because I'm not the fastest reader either. So it does take me a bit of time to get through the books that I want to read. But I'm always reading, and I've normally got a pile like I have at the moment sitting on the side with bookmarks, and I'm part way through all of them, and I just read a bit of each when I fancy it. But no, I commend that in people, and I think we have to. It's not, you know, at some level we have to increase our knowledge while we're still here, if we want to get where we really want to go, you know, because otherwise, if you just never take anything in, you're just going to be on autopilot your whole life, and that doesn't lead you where you want to go. It leads you wherever, like down the river somewhere. Just looking what here. So yeah, let's talk about how to stay in light energy and the good energy. Um, and part of that is focus. Focus on the good. If you dwell on the bad and live in your mind and like have a grey, rainy cloud in your mind, as it were, like, and your life will feel like that. If you turn up the brightness and the sunshine in your head, like, I know it sounds like really cheesy, but it's true. If you, your outlook is very much determined by you, and sometimes we find it hard to understand that because there are external factors. Our environment does affect us to a greater or lesser degree, and the constant change of environment throughout the day, from like, this is what I feel like at home, this is what I feel like when I'm outside my house or down the road, this is what I feel like in the high street, this is what I feel like when I'm at work in this environment, this is what I feel like when I'm with my family in this environment, or out with my friends. Every different environment affects you differently, and your state changes constantly throughout the day. And this comes back to, you know, our energy frequency is constantly being affected by what's outside of us, as well as our personal internal representations of what's going on are affecting us at the same time. So it's constantly external and internal, like, sort of butting heads against each other, or not even that, just like in a loop, like sort of like, what we see this outside of us, this affects me this way, I think about it this way, and then my mind thinks about it this way, so now I see it this way, and that can alter the way the environment appears to each individual person. But a lot of it, as I say, is about focusing on the positive, focusing on the good as much as possible. You know, trying to focus, what the hell that was, thinking more about what we want to see in our lives than thinking about what's terrible about them or what we really don't like about them. Because the more you focus on what you don't like, the more you, it's true, what you focus on expands. And that brings me back to what is the good energy, the light energy. And I've described it, I've thought of some words that describe it, and it does come from a place of love, from like the heart chakra space. It comes from love, and it encompasses things like self-healing, replenishment, the body that replenishes itself. It's an open quality. Oh, see the stitch phone there, that's my girlfriend's phone that I'm reading this off of. There you go. um Light, it's light, it's a light energy, versus the dark lower frequencies, which are, instead of opening and expansive, they're contracting and coming smaller down, tunnel vision, bringing it into this, you know, like this very small kind of view of the world. It comes from a resentful place, like, I hate what that person has. It's hate. It comes from hate. It's like love versus hate, and really, it's not just hate. It's fear. It's a fear of not having what you need. Whereas the loving high energy is like, no, I already have everything I need inside me. The universe is abundant, and I, through my very being, acquire the abundance of the universe because I am in sync with it, I'm in flow with it. That's the way you want to think if you want to have your life work. And it's hard sometimes, I am not saying that I'm perfect at this. I make a video like this because it's stuff that I want to remind myself of as well. I'm trying to teach myself to focus on this stuff too, because I can be the worst at this too. We're all only human, to err is human. But yeah, I've written down focus on the good, peace, try and stay peaceful. Meditation's helpful for that. Love and focus on love and light, and you'll feel that inner harmony and the more feelings of abundance and hopefully joy eventually when you follow this path. um Whereas, if you follow that other path of the dark energy, and we can all be led there, it's very easy for, like people who are manipulative, or people who don't even realize that they're ticking like that themselves over in the background. That dark sort of like, oh, they've all got that, oh, I don't like them, sort of thing, or a lot of that hate kind of vibe that's deep down in them. And that can come out and can affect, you and things around you. So you have to, this is why I say you have to be very careful about energy transfer, because we're all susceptible, and no one is completely immune except maybe like monks up in the mountains and stuff. But then there's a reason they stay in those mountains and don't often come back into the regular, world of like society and workplaces and things like that, because that stuff will throw you off kilter real quick. So you have to center yourself real deeply to actually be able to handle in those environments. um but hopefully some of this has resonated and been useful to you. I usually try and only post a video when I've got something I feel is important to say. Otherwise, it's normally just either me playing guitar or my latest rap track. But this one's a video because I just thought, yeah, I'm going to talk about some stuff because it's been on my mind. But I would just say, in conclusion, that hopefully, I don't want to say society, but as a human species, hopefully we can eventually get to a place where we focus more on the positive and the abundant and stay in our center. There's less of the aggressive kind of, not that aggression is always bad, aggression could be a great thing in the right circumstances, but that there's not so much of the sort of button heads and clashing and the hate vibe, like I hate this person for having this. It's like, because that comes from a place of need. It comes from a place of like, I don't have what I need to fulfill, what I need, and that person does, so I hate that person. And if you think like that, then you're always going to internally hold yourself back. And that's what we need to rise above, what we need to ascend. And if we can, I think that'd be a great thing for everybody, for all of humanity, if we could do that. I think we're a long way from it if you look at the news, but then maybe don't look at the news all the time, because that don't help either. That just like puts that whole like fear, like man against man kind of thing in your head. That's what they want to do with that. So you want to try and take the news, and especially the mainstream news media, with a pinch of salt. But yeah, just want to do a little video to say hopefully we can just try and stay on an even keel and stay peaceful and stay level and look out for one another, because it's hard out there. It's not easy, especially in these days and times. It's really not. But if we can overcome that and keep following the path of the higher good light energy and less of the dark, lower vibrational frequencies, the bad energy that we don't really want, maybe we can get to a place that's just a little bit better than it could be, or than it was. And that's really about all I have to say on the subject. For now, this is my latest little 2 cents on I don't know what you would call it, like etheric concepts or some form of like enlightened psychology. But or just me talking randomness, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully it's been useful, and just, yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope that this at least brings some kind of comfort in what can be quite a difficult time for everyone these days. But yeah, peace and love to everybody watching, and thank you for watching. If you liked watching this video, subscribe to my channel, because I'll be posting eventually probably more of this kind of thing and more songs and different stuff that I post. But yeah, thank you very much everybody. Stay safe out there and stay well.